Get ready to learn the top secrets and simple strategies for living the life of your dreams. Welcome to Living the Dream Podcast, where it's not just about achieving your goals in the future, it's about enjoying your journey along the way. Here are your hosts, Krista Joy and Christy Fredericks.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to our show. With spring in the air, you might be getting that itch to start some deep cleaning and organizing of your home. I wish I would get that itch, but I don't have it yet. But today, we thought we would share with you some tips from the master of decluttering herself, Marie Kondo. Now, if you aren't familiar with the KonMari method of organization, don't feel alone. I had never heard of this before either. I'm excited to get into it. This woman is amazing, and she created and made famous this system. So get ready to take some notes. She's in very high demand, and this is exciting stuff. But first, a little background information for you. Marie Kondo is the author of the book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up.
So according to Amazon, this #1 New York Times bestseller is the book that sparked a revolution and inspired the hit Netflix series Tidying Up with Marie Kondo, the original guide to decluttering your home once and for all. Despite constant efforts to declutter your home, do papers still accumulate like snowdrifts and clothes pile up like a tangled mess of noodles? Japanese cleaning consultant Marie Kondo takes tidying to a whole new level, promising that if you properly simplify and organize your home once, you'll never have to do it again. Most methods advocate a room by room or little by little approach, which doom you to pick away at your pile of stuff forever. The KonMari method, with its revolutionary category by category system, leads to lasting results. In fact, none of Kondo's clients have lapsed, and she still has a 3-month waiting list. With detailed guidance for determining which items in your house spark joy and which don't, this international bestseller will help you clear your clutter and enjoy the unique magic of a tidy home and the calm, motivated mindset it can inspire.
All right, and maybe I've been living under a rock. I hadn't heard of it until now, but Marie Kondo's book is considered one of the most influential books of the decade by CNN. She's a really big deal. So what Vogue said about her was that the Japanese expert's ode to decluttering is simple and easy to follow. So there you go, a little recommendation from Vogue magazine. And how could this pocket-sized book, which has already sold over 2 million copies and sits firmly atop the New York Times bestseller list, make such a big promise? Well, here's the short answer. I'm hearing it's legit. Kondo's method really can change your life if you let it, according to the Today Show. So what is this amazing KonMari method? I haven't even learned to say it yet. I'm so excited. So let's get right into it, Christy.
Okay, so her first step in the process is to grab a trash bag. So that's easy. I can do that. Even I can do that. And then start throwing away everything that's clearly garbage in your house. So start in one place of your home and just methodically work your way around. Don't worry about doing any organizing or sorting or anything like that. I mean, you're truly just getting rid of garbage. I know this sounds crazy, but we all have some trash laying around, like old receipts, junk mail, all that kind of stuff. So you're going to just walk through the house, pick all that up, put it in your garbage bag.
All right. And next, Marie has you tackle the decluttering process by categories. So here's the categories. Are you ready? It starts with clothing. That's #1, clothing. Oh, some of us have it everywhere. #2 is books. #3 is papers. #4, kimono. That's interesting. And what she means by that is all of the miscellaneous items and areas like the kitchen and garage. That's kimono. I thought it was a Japanese coat, but apparently not. #5, sentimental items. So again, top 5 right there. Clothing, books, papers, kimono, and sentimental items.
Right. And then with each category, she recommends that you pull every item together in one place and begin the process of sorting. So this sounds crazy, but when you're doing your clothing category, you're going to literally empty every closet, every drawer, every basket, every item of clothing, and you're going to pile it all up in one huge, gigantic pile before you get started.
Well, and here's my favorite part. I was doing a little research before the show. Check this out. Her theme with all of this decluttering is to only keep things that spark joy. We're all about joy here on this podcast. So, sparking joy will feel a little different for everyone, but whatever you decide to keep, it should make you feel good and bring you joy when you see it or use it. I love that. And that's something I did know about that and trying to put that into my own life. But this is her jam, this lady, sparking joy. I love it.
Exactly. And I love that too, because her whole mentality here is instead of being sad and thinking about everything you're giving up, oh no, I'm giving away my t-shirt with all the holes in it. Oh no. Instead, you're looking at it on, oh boy, look what I'm keeping. I'm keeping this shirt that I love and it brings back these wonderful memories or whatever. It's kind of reversal. Don't think about everything you're getting rid of. Think about all the great things that you're keeping that spark joy for you. So, as you sort through each of these categories, you're going to decide what to keep. And for the things that don't actually spark joy, okay, I'm not sure I can do this, but you're supposed to thank each item, which I'm not sure about that part of it, but she thanks each item, so I'm going to roll with her on this. Then you pack them up to either be donated or thrown away, kind of depending on their condition. And then once you've completed that process for the entire category, then you start to fold and organize each item as you put them away. So you're not organizing as you're decluttering. That's like one of her themes here, right? We're just going to do one step at a time. So don't organize as you declutter because then that's how we all get bogged down. So first declutter, then organize. So this process seems pretty straightforward, right? So Krista, does this seem like something that would work for you?
I think so. I'm having a little trouble picturing myself thanking each item. I mean, Peter might think I lost my mind, but I do kind of like that. I like the thought of that. You're literally like saying it out loud. I think probably helps your brain to release it and let it go. It served you well. Now it's on its next journey. You're thanking the item.
Yeah, I guess for me that was one piece that I struggled with most. Like I've watched her Netflix show, and so first I got the book, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this, and then I read the book, and then I was like, okay, I really need to do this, and then I was like, well, maybe I'll just procrastinate a little more by watching the Netflix show. So I started doing that, and she's so inspiring and she's so motivational. But it may be just the difference in cultures. I don't know if I can thank my stuff, but I get where she's coming from. I think it's that whole piece of being appreciative of what you have. And so that I can completely embrace appreciating each item that I choose to keep and what it does for me and how it does spark joy and what purpose it serves, and then appreciating the thing as I let it go. I'm just not really big on showing all the emotions. So I think it's the same thing. My kids would be like, Mom, have you lost your mind? Why are you talking to your clothes? So I'm not sure I can do that piece, but I kind of like some of the other stuff she's got going. So are you normally like a messy or a neat person?
Well, I'm normally busy. I mean, right now we're in the quarantine time, so I really have no excuse. But my excuse for every day is that I'm probably not in my home most of the day, 3 days a week, because I'm in the entertainment business, and a lot of times we're gone long hours, like 18 hours out of a day, we'll be gone, or we're gone overnight. And then next thing I know, it's time to go to the next gig. So that's my excuse regularly. Right now, I really don't have an excuse. So just trying to daily, we're keeping up with dishes and things like that. My son is actually the really wonderful, neat one. He's at least in certain areas. His room is immaculate. And if we don't do the dishes, he will do the dishes. He likes the counters to be immaculate. But outside of that, we kind of, set things down and there they lay. And I think my partner, Pete, I think he's a little bit worse than I am as far as like laying stuff down and leaving it. So we could definitely improve in this area. So I'm wondering, maybe I missed it in the beginning. So how does it all begin? You pick a room and you get a trash bag and you throw away the garbage, right? That's step one.
Right. And so her theory is kind of different, which I like it because believe me, I've done pretty much every organizational technique you can imagine. I'm a little OCD, so I like to continually like go back through and organize everything. But so her technique, she does have you start with a garbage bag and going room by room, just really getting rid of literal trash. But when she has you actually go through the decluttering process, rather than doing it room by room, she does category by category, which I think is really, really smart. And I don't know why I've never thought of this myself. But when I've reorganized in the past, where I've run into like a huge problem and then I'm just hit a wall and I think, okay, forget it. I can't do this anymore. I'm done. It's when you start in a room where you have so many items that don't actually belong in that room. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I've just opened up this huge can of worms. Now I take this thing in the kitchen that doesn't really belong in the kitchen, and then I head over to the garage with it. And I get to the garage, and there's just all sorts of crap in there. And then I find something in the garage that doesn't really belong in the garage. And then I head to the hall closet because that's where that belongs. And then I open the door, and stuff starts falling out. And it's just like, oh my God, I can't do it. It's too much. So I really like her category by category system. I think maybe part of it is you get motivated, and it's kind of that whole principle like with an object that's in motion, like stays in motion. Like once I get rolling with it, like if I was really successful with my clothes, which is part of the strategy, right? Because we don't really have necessarily a huge amount emotional attachment to our clothes.
Mhm.
So if I could do my clothes and feel really good about it, then maybe I'd feel good enough to like move on to the next piece. Like I'd feel encouraged, like I can do this.
It's really fascinating. And there's obviously something to this because it's taken the world by storm. And I know she has a show on Netflix, but for people like me that don't have Netflix, I did find some really great videos on YouTube of her. And then you said there's a book as well, right?
Right. So the books, the what we talked about at the beginning of the podcast, which is it's called The Life Changing Magic of Tidying Up.
Mhm.
And you can get it on Amazon. We'll put some links up with the podcast, but you can get on Amazon, Target, any place where you normally would order a book. There's audiobook, and it's a tiny little hardback book. It's only about 200 pages. It reads really fast, and you could literally just read the sections that kind of pertain to you. I know it's crazy. I'm an author, but I don't have a lot of books laying around. I tend to read a book and then donate it. I'm not for whatever reason, I'm not big on rereading books or rewatching movies. I know it's weird. I know a lot of people just watch the same movie over again, but the book, it's small, or you can just do the Kindle version, audio version, and get started right away. If you're feeling pumped up and excited after listening to this and think, I can't wait, I gotta get going. You can just start listening to it right now and get going.
Well, I should ask you the question: Are you normally messy or neat?
Um, I am on the surface neat and under the surface messy. So, like, if you could come into our house at any given time, and it tends to look a little bit like a model home. So, and it's not that, it's just that I don't have a lot of stuff, is what I mean by that. It's like it's very
Oh, and you
minimalist.
just moved
Um,
too.
Well, yes, and so Greg and I tend to like just a few things here and there, and it makes it so much easier to clean and keep up with things. Plus, we're planning a cross country move in the next few years, so we're trying every time go to buy an item. It's like, do I really want to move this across the country? If I don't really want to move this across the country, I'm not going to buy it. So that's really helping keep things neater and tidier. But when you go onto my desk and you open the drawer, it's like, oh my God, what happened in here? A tornado hit this place, or you open the door to the basement, don't go down there.
Mhm.
That's like the staging area for the disaster zone. So, um, I tend to go through things like with my kids' clothes. I try to keep on top of that. Every spring break and fall break, we go through all the clothes. And so my kids make sure they have the right sizes and pass anything around that I can.
Mhm.
But then it just kind of makes it down to the basement area, and nothing really happens from there. So yeah, I definitely need this system. What I really need to do is stop procrastinating and actually, you know, put this into action.
So I know you've been watching the shows on Netflix. Did you get through the whole? Did you say there's four of them?
I want to say there's 6 of
4 of
them,
them.
and they're kind of interesting because she kind of gives you a sampling, right? So she's got an episode where it's like a married couple with some really young kids, and kind of shows how that scenario works. Because, of course, that's always overwhelming, right? You've got little kids with lots of toys and all of that. She's got an older couple who's downsizing. So that's like a whole different predicament when you're trying to declutter. She's got an episode with a widow who's having to go through all of her husband's former belongings, which is another scenario where people have to deal with. You've got like people who have just like newlyweds, and then now they're trying to combine, two households of stuff. So that's another situation. So it's cute. She's got a lot of different bases covered, and I think this was 6 episodes. I don't know if she's going to have an additional season. I haven't heard anything about that, but it's definitely fun to watch, especially if you're just trying to get motivated to get going on some spring cleaning, or you have an organizational project and you don't really know where to begin. I know personally I have a couple of those, and it's helpful just to watch her and
that was
kind
my
of
next
get some
question. Have you
ideas.
put any of this into practice, and tell us about your experience with it if you did?
So I was I was pretty good at the beginning. So I started with the clothes, and I really streamlined a lot of the clothes. But then I got hung up on the thing, which I think so many of us do. It's like, well, I'll probably, I do like this dress. I do like this red Jessica Rabbit dress that I have from this Christmas party. I really want to keep this red dress. It does spark joy for me, but at the same time, when am I ever going to wear this red dress again? So I kind of got bogged down in it a little bit. I think I probably need to get better at learning to like let go of things. I know I've got 2 big projects, and it's kind of the reason that I tuned into her in the first place. I have a ton of paperwork. Back in the day, they told us to keep all of our paperwork and receipts and documents and all of that. So I have several boxes of that stuff down in the basement, as well as close to 30 years of photos, photo albums. And I mean, they're just taking up so much space. And with this cross country move coming up, I know that I need to streamline that stuff. Like, I don't need 100 pictures of the ocean, right? According to the KonMari method, I only need maybe half a dozen of the best ocean pictures. So I don't know, like how, and I think this is why in her theory she leaves the sentimental items to last, right? Like the paperwork, I think I can do. It's just overwhelming because there's so much. And her motto is throw away all the paper. Like, don't keep paper. Because you can get your credit card statements if you need them. You can get any manuals for any equipment that you have online. You just don't need it. Just let it go. And so I think I'll be able to do that. Got myself a shredder. So I'm just waiting for my school semester to wrap up, and then I'm like going to go to town on the paper. I struggle with the photo piece because it's the sentimental stuff.
Yeah, well, I think that's pretty common.
So what do you think would be the hardest category for you? Like if you decided, okay, I'm going to embrace this KonMari method, would you struggle with any of these categories, or can you just be ruthless and like get rid of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really struggle with like sentimental too much. So I think that probably shows in like what I have accumulated. We've lived in the same house for almost 10 years. And I feel like it's probably a lot of stuff. If I were ever to try to move it all, I can't, it would be a ton of stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I would get too hung up on any one thing, but just I'm excited to kind of look into it, the process, and understand it a little bit more. I think that probably the videos and the books would help me to kind of visualize exactly what we're supposed to do here.
Yeah, they are really helpful and definitely motivating. I'm kind of a procrastinator, so I think that's where I struggle a lot, is just getting the ball rolling. But I do like her idea of starting with the clothes, because I think despite wanting to keep my red Christmas dress, I think that I can let go of some other clothes items. Not a huge clothes person in general. Like I've used some of those services like Stitch Fix and things like that where you can just like rent clothing, rent clothing. So I don't get ultra attached to clothes themselves. I think maybe I just tried to jump into like the photos like I'm not supposed to, because that's step what was that? Let me look back at our list. I think that's step 5. Yes. Sentimental items. Step 5. I should follow directions and start with step 1.
Yeah, maybe that's key. I really like the sound of what we were saying at the beginning, that once you do this, you should never have to do it again. That's a big promise. So,
Now, I mean, that would be amazing. And I guess part of her theory too is once you declutter everything and you start to organize, you make sure everything, and this is so logical, but at the same time, kind of hard to do. You make sure everything has its place. And then when you use it, you put it back in its place. You don't put it in some random place. And then when you bring new things in, you automatically, like if you bring in a new clothing item, you cut the tags off, you figure out where this place's home's going to be. And like you just start out from a good spot at the
mm.
beginning. So, and you just keep the whole keeping up with it because I would love to never have to declutter again.
Yeah, and I think, it goes back to being mindful, I guess. We kind of, like for me, I tend to, okay, what's next? What do I have to do next? What's next on the schedule? But I need to pay more attention to what's going on right here. And that will probably prevent me a little more from like just putting it down and leaving it there. Like if you're more mindful in the moment, you'll remember, okay, let me go ahead and be intentional about putting this back now that I'm done with it.
Yeah, that's such a great point. I think so many times I'm just doing things so much out of
Yeah.
habit that I don't even think about it. Like I gave my kids to by our back door where we come in from our courtyard, we've got this little shelf and it's got baskets in it, which is where I have my kids put their shoes. Well, for a little bit, I didn't have the baskets in there. I had the shelf, but I didn't have the baskets. So they got in the habit of just putting their shoes on the floor. Well, now the baskets are there for them to put their shoes in, but they're still in such a habit of just sticking them on the floor. I have to remind them, hey, pull your basket out and stick your shoes in it. I mean, it's funny. You just get in these habits, and you're right. We're just not mindful about it. We don't think about it. We're on autopilot, thinking about the next thing we're going to do. We just leave our items wherever and then go back to collect them later. And I think that's part of why I put something down and I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I do with my phone? What did I do with my keys? Like, where did I
Yeah.
stick my stuff? Because I wasn't aware. I wasn't being mindful and paying attention.
Yeah, and I think what I want to work on, and I've always wanted to do this because I'll let get something so messy that I absolutely can't stand it anymore. My refrigerator is an example. I've been wanting to take the shelves out and scrub that fridge for probably longer than I want to admit. And I'll just let it go until it bothers me so much. I'll have to spend once I start, you can't stop me. I'm like a whirlwind. I'll end up doing the whole kitchen when that day comes. I'll be wiping out all the cabinets. It doesn't happen that often, but when it does, I get a little crazy. But I think I would really like to be that person that makes the time for those things so that I can be on top of it and, where it's not just like me and then, next thing I know, 8 hours are gone and my kitchen is nice and clean, but hours are gone. I would work be more intentional, going back to being intentional, maybe scheduling the time. I think that would be something I think I want to work on at some point soon.
That is an awesome idea. And one thing that I'm really bad about is because I am a procrastinator, I will use organization and cleaning to
Yeah.
procrastinate. Or like when I think you and I both can be a little
Mhm.
anxious at times. And so one of the great things about organizing and decluttering is it gives you this sense of control, which is great, especially in times when everything around you seems kind of chaotic. Just to sit down with one drawer of paper or your junk drawer of your kitchen or whatever. It's just like this little tiny thing, but you can have control over it. You can, just I don't know. There's something about
Yeah, that's what I
relaxing
was
to
gonna
me.
say. You get to zone out, and I've heard men talk about this with yard work. It's the same thing. It's almost like a therapeutic
Yeah.
thing where you get to kind of just I don't know. It's like an unplugging type thing when you're cleaning and organizing. That's all you have to do, and it gives you satisfaction because when it's done, there's an immediate result. You're like, huh, this looks better. This isn't covered in dust anymore, and I'm happy about that.
Exactly. You get a little bit of success. It feels so good, especially when other things are feeling crazy. It's an
Yeah.
awesome feeling
Yeah.
to
So
have
do you
that.
have any final thoughts on this whole thing today?
Well, like I said, my classes are going to wrap up with school in a couple of weeks, And I am really going to make the effort over my summer break to put this into motion and really try to declutter because and organize our house. And I think by doing that, it's going to allow me some peace. And I feel like when my surroundings are decluttered, it helps my mind be decluttered. Just kind of like a to do list is so helpful for me. So I don't have all these thoughts swirling in my head. I can just put them down on paper and let them go. The same thing, I think, if I don't have all of these objects whirling around in my environment, it'll just make things feel more relaxing and comfortable. So that's my goal. That's my plan and follow along. I will try to post some photos of my successes / fails.
Yeah,
as
and
we go.
speaking of which, I want to invite everybody to join our Facebook group. We just newly launched it, and we'd love to have you in there. We'd love for you to share your thoughts on this episode and past episodes in there as well. It's called Simple Dream Life Strategies. That's the name of our Facebook group that we hope you'll join and follow along as we go on this journey together. But Christy, I think your feelings are shared by so many, and thank you for being so open and talking about this with us today. This was fun.
This was fun, and thank you too. It's always fun to kind of get an inside peek behind, what people are up to in their houses. So this is really fun. And speaking of that, if you have tried the KonMari method and you've had an awesome failure or an awesome success, we would love to see it. So definitely do post that in our Facebook group or tag us on Instagram or Twitter. We'd really love to, celebrate any successes.
Yeah, because you're bound to inspire us as well. So thank you so much for listening today.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Living the Dream Podcast, where we know the secret to living your dreams begins with the smallest steps that lead you to your essential joy. Music for today's episode was provided by Peter Alden's Kingdom Classics, now available for purchase on our website. This presentation represents the opinions of the hosts and guests of the show. Our show is informational and for entertainment purposes only. Always consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are our own. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we are sharing is accurate, we welcome your comments and suggestions. Contact information for Krista Joy can be found at disneyways.com/connect. Reach out to Christy Fredericks at disneyworldenthusiast.com/about. At Living the Dream Podcast, we know it's not just about achieving your goals in the future, it's about enjoying your journey along the way.